I understand Minecraft's textures are supposed to be pretty vague, but what is this supposed to be? Welcome back to BetaWorld, the series where we travel through Minecraft's history to obtain discontinued features and grow our ever-expanding survival Minecraft world. At the end of last episode, I showed off a little bit of my bridge to new chunks, which has been finished in between episodes. So let's take a stroll down it and see what I've done. I already showed you this part with the logs and the planks. I transitioned it into a tunnel through this little landmass to preserve the natural life. Slabs on bottom, slabs on top, stone on all sides. Then it's more of the same, a wooden bridge that's much longer than the first one across this body of water. Then we hit another mountain, so I dug another tunnel, identical to the first, right through it. Finally, one more big bridge, the biggest of the three, then we'll be at the new chunks. But not really, because we have to cross a forest first. And there really wasn't a mountain for me to build a tunnel through this one, so instead I chopped down a little path for the bridge to go through. So you head down over here, and then we go through the woods in this little wooden path that is marked. I also clear the leaves in all the spots where the path is to help with navigation a little bit. And then we will reach the top with these weird leaves that will not decay for some reason. They're floating, they're not touching any blocks, they just won't decay. I think I'll keep them. It's a little bit of a discontinued feature we got over there. Anyway, as we continue going, we'll reach the new chunks over here with the sand. How do we get down? I installed a little ladder system you can just use to safely descend down these blocks. Here is where all the sand is. Now that the bridge is all completed, I feel that about right time to update to the next version, which is very special, because it marks the very first Secret Friday update. But what is a Secret Friday update? Well, previously most updates to Minecraft Infdev, Classic, and before that had a changelog published by Notch on his blog. Make a log of all the new changes in the update. Secret Friday updates, which there are many of, and this is just the first, were published on a Friday and contained no changelog at all, besides maybe a couple spooky hints. Here is the changelog for the updates. See? Not much is told. So we're going to find out what's new in this update on our own. So, let's go. Although it would have been very difficult to deduce what's new in this update back in 2010, I have the benefit of community-made changelogs for this update, and I've been informed that there is a new block that can be crafted. So let's take a look at what we need for it. First, we're going to need some sticks, which I don't have, so I'll go and chop some trees off camera in a moment. The other thing we're going to need is some iron. Now, based on modern knowledge, what do you think is new in this update? Let me know in the comments. If it wasn't already obvious to you what is new in this update, I'll show you. So first, you gotta take 6 iron ingots and put them like this in the crafting grid. And then you'll take one stick in the middle to bind it all together, and we'll get some of these. You know, they kind of look like ladders to me. Let's see if you can place them like a ladder. No. So maybe they only go on the top of blocks? Yes, they do. So these are definitely not ladders, but they have rungs just like them. So maybe it's some sort of rail, perhaps. It looks like you can walk right through them. And there's some other things of note. They connect to each other kind of like this. And if you want to place one over here, it'll actually make a turn for you. You can make a circle like this with a cool little design. Looks really nice. And additionally, if you want to make one go up a hill, oh, that's weird, you can. And it'll have a bigger hitbox, and it'll go vertical. Now, that's cool and all for, like, floor designs and stuff, but what are these rails really meant for? Well, there's a new entity in this update as well, so let me show you what that's all about. If you take 5 iron this time, and layer them in a U-shape, kind of like this, you will get this weird item that I'm really not so sure what it's supposed to be, and you can't place it down anywhere, except if you have a rail. And it is a little metal cart, a mine cart. So this mine cart has something special. If you right click on it, then it has a little inventory and you can put items into it. So let's say I'll put a stack of cobblestone in. Now that I put items in, there's a little gray mass of dirt or something like it at the bottom. And this mass will actually fill based on how many items are in the minecart. So let's place some more random things I have in my inventory. I don't think it went up. I think it goes by stacks, so I'm gonna get some dirt. Okay, just for reference, this is what it looks like with nothing inside. Now I'm going to place in my stack of cobblestone, see how much it goes up, Placing another stack of dirt. You can see it goes up a little more dirt, and eventually, if you were to fill all these slots, I don't have enough items to, the dirt would go all the way to the top. So, you might have seen this earlier, but these minecarts can be pushed along rails, which is very useful. So I'm going to take all these items out, and I'm going to show you another way to move minecarts besides pushing them. So minecarts can actually go down the sloped rails that I mentioned before, and they gain some momentum when going down. This will be very useful for sending items down into the mine if I ever need to. Of course, being any new feature, minecarts also happen to have a couple quirks. See, because they act as invulnerable entities, see I can't hit them no matter how hard I try, if you try and set one on fire, like this, it'll just stay on fire forever with a very glitchy billboarded texture. The only way to put out the fire of it, because it will go on forever, is to use water. Also, minecarts seem to be floating slightly above the block they are on top of. Not quite sure why this happens, but it does. And on top of all that, I don't know of any ways to destroy a minecart, so I'm gonna have to be working on finding out that. I'm gonna do a little bit of experiment. Oh, hello, Mr. Zombie. I'm gonna do a little bit of experiment. I have not found a surefire way to get rid of these minecarts yet. I tried punching, lighting on fire, everything. Can't get rid of them. So we're going to try the only method I can think of left. Explosions. So I'm going to place a lovely TNT right here on this little obsidian pad, and I'll fill in the dirt later. I'm sure this won't be too much of an issue. I really hope this minecart explodes. Okay, let's give this a try then. And it did nothing to the minecart. Well, barring the minecarts and rails and all that, there is another new entity that has been added in this update, but it's not as new as you would think. See, recall from previous updates, when placing sand would just make it snap to the lowest block surface below it. Well, now if you place sand, it will turn into an entity and smoothly fall down to that block. And you can know it's an entity because it'll go right through the player, just like every other entity. So let's see how this entity behaves in other mediums, like water. Okay, I'm going to place some sand up here. And let's see what happens when it goes in the water. Just as smooth as always. Nice. I built this little minecart track just to see roughly how fast they can go. It puts them in a circle downwards at a consistent speed. So we're going to go to the top and release the minecart and see what happens. Let's go. That was actually pretty slow, but it's going kind of faster at the bottom in this little V-shaped thingy. Yeah, that's going pretty fast, and I can push it to make it go fast again, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, minecarts seem to have some sort of a pretty low speed cap in this version. I hope that gets improved soon. One more thing of note with minecarts, if you press the jump button and open its inventory at the same time, this will happen. You will just keep jumping forever. I think this is a variant of the bug from Infdev where you keep walking in the direction that you held forever if you press the movement key at the same time as opening a chest, but this is for jumping, and it's pretty funny. I'll stop doing that now. I think I'll leave this minecart here, see if it keeps jittering forever. If you were to take a sign and place a sand on top of it, the sand would get clipped into the sign and it would look kind of funny. But that's not all you can do with sand and signs. See, if you take some sand and you put it above the sign, the sand will actually flicker between being a block and being an entity rapidly. And this is actually a way of preserving the sand entity while it is in the air. You can kind of walk through this thing, the sand glitches over here, and it's a really buggy entity. Now what I haven't tested is if this persists if you save and quit the world, so we're going to try that. Unfortunately the sand will fall through the sign and drop if you save and quit. So this is not a permanent effect. But it's still a very cool effect, and I like it. But with that, I believe that's all we got time for in this episode. If you like what you see, please consider liking, subscribing, and checking out my other videos. It helps out a ton. And until next episode, bye-bye!